Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm, where socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all-around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Nerdy Occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello, folks.
And I am your host, last time I want to be the Brainstormer of Pop Culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am okay. Better actually than I was doing yesterday. Note to self, do not be absolutely fucking sleep deprived on one's birthday.
So Ed Brewer says, yo back, Ed.
Hello, Ed.
Yeah. So not an eventful week in terms of stories in geekdom.
No.
So yeah, I mean, we have some stuff for you. Obviously, it's just, again, not the biggest week. Ironically, the last couple of days have been sorta, but not really much there.
Yeah, because it's Comic-Con week, except they can't Comic-Con because Corona, so there is.
I feel bad for like the cosplayers and stuff who put so much work to go.
Yeah, I know. It's just like it's basically nerd mecca, and they just. Although, come to think of it, there's a con that I've been going to the last few years, and it got canceled too. So, yeah, fuck coronavirus, you stupid con canceling motherfucker.
Yeah. Don't have much else to say, so I guess we'll move forward.
Other than the fact that yesterday was my birthday, if anyone
right. I can't believe that. Yeah, so Dalton is 26?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an old man now. And Ed says happy birthday.
It certainly feels that way. Although at the moment the most substantive feeling I've had on the matter is just people have constantly told me you peak at 25. I hope to God they're wrong, because I haven't done shit yet. And I feel so useless because I haven't accomplished anything at 25.
Hey. Stop with the negativity.
Yes, stepping away from the ledge.
Mm-hmm. You are weird. You are awesome.
I appreciate the encouragement, and more importantly, that said encouragement didn't take the form of "you should drink more" like it did with my family and my friend yesterday.
Ironically enough, my birthday will be coming up this November, and it will be the first time I can actually drink legally.
Yeah. Yes, and on that day, I might actually consider opening a bottle of booze, because I feel like, as your friend, I should drink with you on the day when you're actually legally liable to drink.
Mm-hmm. Ed Brewer says it's 27 when you peak, I assume.
Okay, so I have 2 years to do something.
Yeah, you can help me write a comic.
Well, I was probably going to do that anyway.
Fair enough.
But let's get into things because oh boy, do I have things to say.
Oh, right. Mention the cakes. Mention the cake thing. That's
Okay. So funny thing was that this year my mom asked me what kind of cake I would like, and I said a coconut cake with pudding in the middle because a couple years ago I believe it was my 23rd or 24th birthday. I got a coconut cake with pudding in the middle because I'm usually prone to standard vanilla, but I wanted to mix things up a little bit. So she made me that from scratch, which for my mom is a big deal because she always uses like mixes and what have you. And I was quite pleased with that. But then my aunt comes in, not knowing that mom did that, and she brings a just standard vanilla cake with buttercream icing. So now I have two cakes that I shall be scarfing down like a ravenous wolf every morning for breakfast for the next like month. Yay.
It's just I can't get over the fact that he likes coconut on a cake.
Coconut cake is delicious, especially when there's pudding in the middle. But then again, basically every dessert can be improved with pudding in the middle.
I mean that last part's fair, but coconut, really?
Yes.
Like I give him shit about not liking sandwiches, which is a fucking thing. It's a running gag on this show.
Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
you don't like tacos, which honestly I get.
Yeah.
Because he's him.
Yeah.
Where's the hot dogs?
I don't mind hot dogs actually. I don't like burgers though.
And again, that right there, that's the weirdest thing I know about him. Everything I know about him, that is what I consider the weirdest thing. No, doesn't like sandwiches, doesn't like burgers. Like,
And honestly, I find it frankly adorable that is the thing. That is where the line is drawn with you. Not the fucking soul bargaining stuff with extra dimensional entities. Not the 14 years of occultism. Not the just weird intellectual like eccentricities in general.
dude,
No, it's the food preferences that
dude,
he draws the line.
that shit is cool. I will not lie. That is cool shit you do.
Yeah.
But not liking sandwiches and burgers is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard. Because everyone I have ever met has eaten a burger and has eaten a sandwich and likes them.
Yeah, the only exception to the no sandwich rule really is grilled cheese,
Which is always the exception.
because I'm not a monster. I may be weird, but I am not a monster.
I feel like when we ever do merch, if we ever do merch, that is a T-shirt. Like you just like a cartoon version of you just doing the whole nope like arms crossed thing to sandwich to like nicely made burgers and sandwiches.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a thing. So much merch, so little time. Anyway, let's rant about Cursed because I have things.
Well, we will get around to that. We got some other stuff before that.
Okay.
First is from Bounty in the Comics. Something you sent me, I believe, Dom.
Yes.
Attorney General Bill Barr blasts Disney, Marvel Studios, and Hollywood, warns about close relationship with China. This is by George Arenas, published July 20th, 2020. If I said that name wrong, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last week, Attorney General Bill Barr slammed Disney, Marvel Studios, and other Hollywood production companies and actors for their cozy relationship with the People's Republic of China. Is it really a republic, though?
Well, no, but no authoritarian regime refers to themselves as a dictatorship. They all couch it in positive sounding terms because the semblance of marketing and basically they redefine the concept of a republic so badly that they can call themselves it. It's the same way whenever you hear the term People's Republic or the People's State of X, Y, or Z, it essentially means communist, because what they do is they view the people not as the individual humans under the regime, but as the concept of the group of people in that regime. So you can become an enemy of the people even if you are yourself a person within that regime.
Oh, hey, Emperor asks, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Um, I would say no, because the bun is really just a vehicle for the hot dog itself and or the condiments of the hot dog.
Yeah. Good question, though. Interesting question.
Yes. But yeah, I do like hot dogs because again, I may be weird, but I am not a monster.
And clearly, no one got my joke there with the tacos and the hot dogs.
Hmm.
I feel like that goes over everyone's head.
Mm-hmm.
I tried too hard.
Possibly.
Yeah. All right. Barr's speech made at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum specifically addressed what Barr described as the most important issue for our nation and the way in the 21st century. That is, the United States' response to the global ambitions of the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah. I can't really disagree here. We have been letting China become the infrastructure of the world for decades. And this was a remarkably stupid fucking decision made under political duress, because basically we wanted to make sure that Russia couldn't fuck with us, so we allied ourselves with the next largest power. What would have made more sense would be to align with India, because India is actually based, at least somewhat, on British Western individualistic values. China, though, is one step away from a communist revolution at any given time and can fuck themselves. Not China as a culture, not China as a group of people, but China as a political entity buttressed by the Communist Party can go fuck itself.
Oh, by the way, we are not watching the video here because I clicked on it to see how long it would be. It's an hour long.
God damn it. That's so stupid.
I think it's from the actual address, so.
Probably. All right.
Yeah. He elaborated, the CCP rules with an iron fist over one of the great ancient civilizations of the world. It seeks to leverage the immense power, productivity, and ingenuity of the Chinese people to overthrow the rules-based international system and to make the world safe for dictatorship.
Again, and whatever disagreements I might have with Barr on other things, he is not wrong here. If anyone deserves to be free from the Communist Party of China, it's the people of China, because I actually really, really love ancient Chinese culture. It's fascinating and amazing if you ever look into the history or mythology of China. But fucking hell, China in the late 19th and early 20th centuries fucked themselves over, and they still haven't unfucked themselves. And I feel massively sorry for the free-thinking people of China who has to deal with communist fucking evil. And I'm not even that far from a communist, at least not as far as the political spectrum goes. I'm a Bernie Sanders supporting, like, garden variety Scandinavian social democracy advocating person. But communism has been and will always be a step too far, and it can fuck itself.
In the beginning, Barr warns about China's ambitions and goals. He described China's practices as an economic blitzkrieg.
Well, yeah, although to be fair, I'm less concerned with the economic repercussions of China's stupid and more concerned with the people getting disappeared and getting socially ostracized for no good reason parts of it, to be honest with you. Because if you're a free-thinking person in China, you can literally be charged with conspiracy to undermine the state if you happen to disagree with your politicians on anything. And that's just the most fucking like, have you heard of the Chinese social credit system?
No.
Okay, so basically in China, they have this thing called the social credit system, whereby like doing certain things will make your social credit your social credit score go up, and doing other things will make your social credit score go down. But the thing is, if your social credit score goes below a certain threshold, you can't buy airline tickets, you can't use the internet, you can't, I think, even leave your house if it gets to a certain threshold. And the worst part is, everyone's social credit scores are connected. So you can have your social credit score limited by simply knowing somebody who has done a wrong thing. It's probably the single most terrible. It's basically like, imagine a system where, like, on YouTube, if you got enough dislikes on a video on YouTube, somebody would shoot somebody in your family. That's basically what it's like. And like I said, it's cartoonishly fucking evil, and yet somehow they get away with it. I'm oversimplifying it a little bit for the sake of not going on a 2-hour lecture, but that's basically what it amounts to. Is if the government says you've been a bad boy enough times, never mind whether what you're doing is actually illegal or not, you get fucked. And so does everyone who knows you and everyone who ever did know you, probably.
Alright, so Barr elaborated, the People's Republic of China is now engaged in an economic blitzkrieg, an aggressive, orchestrated whole of government, indeed whole of society, campaign to seize the commanding heights of the global economy and to surpass the United States as the world's preeminent superpower.
To be fair, we helped them do that, and like I said, we should have really bolstered India instead of China. Granted, I would prefer if most of our manufacturing was done by Americans, but if we have to have allies, and we kind of do, because that's how human diplomacy works and how human social animals work, I would much rather deal with a country who has an ideology based on Hinduism and colonial British values rather than communism and fucking pseudo Taoism. And I have nothing against Taoism either. It's really got nothing to do with this. But when you reduce everything down to nature, that makes leaps in logic like communism a lot easier. And I'm not gonna act like it's not a problem or like it didn't contribute to anything. Okay, moving forward.
He specifically notes the ultimate ambition of China's rulers isn't to trade with the United States, it is to raid the United States.
That might be a little bit of exaggeration. I don't think they have any intention to trade with us, but I think China's overall goal would be just to become so powerful that no one can tell them no.
No, raid.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, he said they had no intention to trade, they have intention to raid. But I don't think they want to raid us. They want to become so powerful that we don't matter, essentially. And that scares me. Granted, I don't think America is particularly responsible with the way they do things most of the time either, but given the choice between incompetent American politicians and suicidally idealistic Chinese politicians who have all the power in the world, I will take the American politicians. Thank you very much.
Around how half ah, around halfway through the speech, he took aim at Hollywood production studios. He first called them out for their capitulation to Hollywood censors. He stated, "Take Hollywood. Hollywood actors, producers, and directors pride themselves on celebrating freedom and the human spirit, and every year at the Academy Awards, Americans are lectured on how this country falls short of Hollywood's ideals of social justice."
Again, I might have disagreements with Mr. Barr on other things, but he is not wrong on this.
He continued, "But Hollywood now regularly censors its own movies to appease the Chinese Communist Party, the world's most powerful violator of human rights."
To be fair, they censor their own movies for other reasons as well. It's not just to capitulate to China. I'm not gonna lie and say capitulating to China isn't one of the reasons why they censor things, but unfortunately, like Mr. Barr just said, they're equally likely, if not more so, to do it in the name of some weird moral structure than any kind of financial opportunism. And that's honestly what makes them more dangerous, because if they were just financial opportunists, you can reason with financial opportunists. But true believers who genuinely believe they're doing the right thing for moral reasons are actually willing to take a financial hit as long as they can sleep at night. How they can sleep at night when one of the ways they get social justice is by not being quote unquote racist to violent communists, I will never know, but yeah. And again, I'm not saying you should dislike Asian people. I'm saying if anyone deserves to be free from the Chinese Communist Party, it's the people of China. Moving on.
Uh, Censorship affects not only versions of movies that are released in China, but also many that are shown in American theaters to American audiences, he added. To make his point clear, Barr cited World War Z. For example, the hit movie World War Z depicts a zombie apocalypse caused by a virus. The original version of the film reportedly contained a scene with characters speculating that the virus may have originated in China. In the novel, Patient Zero is a boy from Chongqing. If I'm saying that name wrong, I'm sorry.
I believe you had it right. Chongqing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's funny how that scene was cut out and like now.
And yet here we are.
I mean, no zombies that we know of, but
Yet, but
I'm going full Mad Max if there's a zombie apocalypse.
yeah, I'm probably gonna end up kind of like Columbus from Zombieland if there's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, but in a wheelchair.
I use a walker. Don't fucking shortchange me that much. Granted, I will probably be making more use of my power scooter in the event because running is not something that's easy to do in a walker. Or at all in general, but that's neither here nor there for me anyway.
I feel like if anything, you might hunker down somewhere and wait for like a friend or something to help you.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that you're in Indiana and you know, roughly speaking, where I live then.
Yeah, pretty much.
And my other friend Nick, the one that I talked to yesterday, he and I have been having conversations about what we would do in the event of an apocalyptic scenario for years now, which means that he's like a kid in a candy store given how 2020 has progressed. And we spent most of yesterday joking about that. So,
I just hope we don't have things like the clickers from Last of Us or the raid zombies uh, from 28 Days Later, like those things.
those are the ones that go fast because they're pissed off, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely not. Also, my cat says hi, apparently.
Though I don't think I think if we had like The Walking Dead, like stereotypical zombies,
Mm-hmm.
we could handle those better.
Yeah.
I think if we had George Romero's zombies, which were kind of naturally evolving over time,
Yeah. Yeah.
those might cause a legitimate threat.
Yeah. At that point, we're fucked. Um, my personal goal would be necromantic zombies that are actually powered by magic, because those would be the easiest for me personally to get rid of, because I would just do a banishing for them and they fall over and die again. But I can dream.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, he added, but the studio, Paramount Pictures, reportedly told producers to delete the reference to China in the hope of landing a Chinese distribution deal. The deal never materialized. By the way, World War Z completely butchered the source material. Like I've watched a few videos on the actual book, and apparently the book is a lot better.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've never actually sat down and watched the entirety of the movie or read the book, so I can't really comment. But apparently the series that was based on it was really good, because I'm pretty sure, wasn't it you, Brainstormer, who recommended me the World War Z TV series
There wasn't a
repeatedly?
TV.
Hmm?
Not that I know of, there wasn't a TV series. I did not recommend anything to you like that.
Oh, oh, I thought that there was a TV series, but never the fuck mind.
Uh, that's the book I heard about.
Okay. But anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm. It then pointed to Marvel Studios and Doctor Strange, or
Oh boy.
explained, or explained in the Marvel Studios blockbuster Doctor Strange. Filmmakers changed the nationality of a major character known as the Ancient One, a Tibetan monk in the comic books from Tibetan to Celtic. Okay, don't. I feel like you're gonna go on something, so.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the thing with the Ancient One and Doctor Strange is, no matter what they did with her, what they did with the Ancient One, people would be pissed, because if they played the Ancient One straight like he was in the comics, then argle flargle blargle racism
White
and
Savior.
huh
White
yeah, and
Savior, they bring
white
up that.
savior and Asian Americans or Asian stereotype. If they changed it to an Asian woman, re Dragon Lady and also White Savior. If they changed it to a black woman, racist mystical black lady and also ripping off the Matrix. If they changed it to a black man, like for example, if they got Morgan Freeman to play the Ancient One, which honestly, that would be one that I would be okay with.
Yeah.
Morgan fucking Freeman, yo. But they would be going re mystical black man and white savior. If they changed it to a white man, well, just you're dead. Like you pissed off everyone at that point. If they change and if they changed it to a regular, like average looking white woman, then it's you change you changed a person of color to a white woman, re. So yeah, basically the only option they had was a person so androgynous and so odd looking and so known for playing outside of her type that nobody could really get a read on her.
Right.
And
Plus, Tilda Swinton is a pretty great actress.
yeah, and as much as I would have liked to see a more straight up Doctor Strange than the one we got, I am not I'm not complaining. And in fact, I have a theory that in the MCU, the Ancient One is Morgan Le Fay, because she's Celtic, which means a member of the ancient Celts. She uses dark magic, a la Morgan Le Fay, and we do know in the comics, at least, at one point Merlin was the Sorcerer Supreme. So in my personal headcanon of the Doctor Strange in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after Merlin, Morgan took over, and because Morgan Le Fay is known for utilizing both dark magic and light magic in the mythos, it makes sense for her to be the one to use dark magic to prolong her life and thereby become the Ancient One.
Also,
What she's still doing in Nepal, I don't fucking know. She should have been like in the outskirts of like the deepest part of the British Isles or something if we're going with this mythos. But they do have the sling ring, so I guess whatever.
Also, I want to mention that monks themselves are not tied to a single culture.
Yeah. You can get ascetic monks in just about every tradition ever, but
I actually saw some monks once, or were they priors? Like, there's a church right by a school I used to go to. And I'm walking there one day, see some guys in like those brown robes.
Okay, so we're talking Benedictine monks then, because
Yeah.
that's what the brown robes usually mean, is Benedictine.
It's kind of weird and surreal.
I would have preferred a Tibetan monk though for Doctor Strange, just because so much of his magic system is based heavily on Eastern mysticism, and even his color scheme is loosely based on the colors of like Buddhist monks. So it makes sense. But like I said, Tilda Swinton is Tilda Swinton. Plus now I have the Ancient One is going to turn out to be Morgan Le Fay fan theory, and I love that. So yay.
I mean, if we're thinking about how Morgan Le Fay was in the Arthurian legends, I think this is a good character arc for her.
Well, yeah, like in some versions of the story, she's evil up until the battle of Britain, or the Day of Destiny as it's sometimes referred to. And then when Arthur is shot with arrows and almost killed, they take him to the Isle of Avalon, and Morgan is the one who tries to heal him. So it makes sort of sense. Plus, of course, in some versions of the story, Merlin is the one who taught Morgan, so she's a natural successor for Sorcerer Supreme in this instance. And she's known for being ambiguous and using dark magic more than the average magic user, so her drawing power from the dark dimension also fits with that. So yeah.
All right. So
Ancient One is Morgan Le Fay, and until we get confirmation otherwise, I'm sticking with that.
you should post that.
I have, I'm sure, before. I think mentioned it to Matthew Key, who, for those that don't know, he does a lot with the Popcorn Talk network, or he used to, and he is like on par with me in terms of Doctor Strange fanboyism. Speaking of Sanctum Blog a couple of weeks ago, if you're that into Doctor Strange that me and Sanctum Blog are up your alley, you should give Matthew Key a look, because he was actually the reason I ended up joining Twitter, because I was a big fan of his when I started looking into shit for the Doctor Strange movie, because so much of the stuff in the Doctor Strange movie was being reported on by non-fans of Doctor Strange. So I was like, Jesus, I need to find somebody who gets Doctor Strange like I do to talk about this with. And I found Marvel Movie News on the Popcorn Talk network, and I wanted to talk to Matt more directly, and he was like, "Well, I'm almost always only on Twitter," and I was like, "Do I really want to get Twitter just so I can fanboy about Doctor Strange stuff?" And then I responded to myself, "Yeah, probably." And then I got
we are.
Yeah. So yeah, for those that hate me on Twitter, blame Matthew Key. And moving on.
All right. So, when challenged about this, a screenwriter explained that if you acknowledge that Tibet is a place and that he's Tibetan, you risk alienating 1 billion people. Or he continued, the Chinese government might say, we're not going to show your movie because you decided to get political, Barr stated.
Yeah.
How the fuck is that political?
Okay, because China doesn't acknowledge that Tibet is its own independent country. Because Tibet used to be a part of China, and they declared their independence, and China proceeded to respond to that by militarily occupying Tibet, to the point that the Dalai Lama, basically the Pope of Buddhism, was forced to leave Tibet, which is sort of the mecca for particularly Zen Buddhism, and go elsewhere. That's why the Dalai Lama isn't in Tibet right now, because China China doesn't consider Tibet to be its own country. It considers it to be its property, and therefore, if you acknowledge that Tibet is a place, you're fucked, because China's going to get pissed at you. Or rather, the officials of China are pissed at you. I imagine, much in the same way as when America does something monumentally stupid, and most Americans go, "Well, I didn't support that." There's probably a significant proportion of China that's just like, "That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard." But yeah, basically, China wants to own all the things, and all the things don't want to be owned by China. So basically, kind of the same thing that happened with Hong Kong recently, but about a century ago.
So basically, they read.
Hmm?
They read.
Yes, they read and then militaristically threw a tantrum for a century.
And I thought I just thought I didn't like China because they were communists. Way to go, China! You're giving me more reasons to not like you.
Yeah, no, China.
Well, Chinese government.
Yeah, the government of China can go fuck itself.
Yeah.
The people of China are amazing, and the history of China is amazing, and the mythology of China is amazing, but you really need to decommunize yourselves, guys. And for the record, Hong Kong did nothing wrong. Yeah, but China seems to always do that whenever one of its territories wants freedom. That's why Thailand is called Thailand, because it literally means free land in the language of the Taiwanese, because China and what remained of the British Empire were basically throwing a pissing match over it for a while there.
So, finally moving on, I hope.
Yes.
He then details that this behavior is systemic in Hollywood. There are just two examples of These are just two examples of the many Hollywood films that have been altered one way or another to conform to CCP propaganda. And this is kind of one of the other reasons why I think I'll probably really be in independent films.
Because you don't want to cock to China?
That, and also, I don't think if any ideas for movies I wanted to do would never be approved by the Hollywood elite douchebags.
Yeah, there's that. But you can always pull a I forget the guy who did Joker now.
Todd Phillips.
Yeah, you could always pull a Todd Phillips and make a movie so good and so successful they can't freeze you out.
Well, it's also that, and also because there's like a lot of fucking interplay politics.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot of politicking around getting a movie made, unfortunately.
Like they will totally mess up your entire fucking script, like your original story, for something else until you direct it and cut the budget for it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are YouTubers who are like really great filmmakers and decided not to be like go to Hollywood because they kept getting fucked over for their projects.
Mm-hmm.
Corridor Digital, go check those guys out. They're awesome. Yeah, they are like right now they are legitimately making a website where they can make their own films and stuff and put that on there because they don't want to work in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why I really don't think I would work well in Hollywood.
Yeah, most people that actually are creative don't tend to do well in Hollywood. Only the small percentage of creative people that can actually make Hollywood work for them, which also explains why so much of Hollywood's work is lacking in originality as though it's water in the middle of a desert.
I feel like I think I could do pretty well in independent film. I mean, some things would have to be like some stories would have to be drastically altered to work with an independent budget,
Hmm.
but I don't think I'd really compromise the heart.
The good thing is, as technology keeps advancing, it'll get easier and easier to tell a high concept story with a lower budget.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there are a lot of YouTube short films that do that.
Yeah, and there's also movies like was it Annihilation? I thought it was a movie called Annihilation that was like made on a $5 million budget or something, but had really, really trippy visual effects.
You remember that Russian superhero film, Guardians?
Vaguely.
It was made for a pretty small budget when compared to American superhero movie budgets at the time.
And then of course, Unbreakable I think was made originally for 10 million. Glass was made for 20, and like Split was made for 8 million, and that was all financed by M. Night Shyamalan. So it can be done.
Honestly, I think I would. I've never thought about working with millions of dollars. I've thought maybe like a good 1,000 or 10,000 for a
Mm.
movie.
Well, but I guess the best bet for you would be to go and work for Blumhouse, because Blumhouse makes everything on a micro budget relative to other movie studios, and they always make a solid amount back just because of how small the budgets are. So you could establish yourself in Blumhouse, and then when you're already an established name enough that nobody can fuck with you, then you can move on to bigger franchises and whatnot.
Yeah. All right. So, Barr continued. National Security Advisor O'Brien offered even more examples in his remarks, but many more scripts likely never see the light of day because writers and producers know not to even test the limits. Chinese government censors don't need to say a word because Hollywood is doing their work for them. This is a massive propaganda coup for the Chinese Communist Party, he stated.
I don't even think they know, like, I don't think it's propaganda so much as it is people in Hollywood want to be good according to their own standards, and China either uses that or doesn't even necessarily have to use that because they do it automatically most of the time. Like, I don't think anyone in China said when they were releasing the Force Awakens trailer, you need to de-emphasize that black man because people over here don't like black people. I think it was just that we want to be nice to the Chinese, therefore let's move this out of the way a little bit.
But, it's funny because I'm not sure. Does anyone remember that washing like soap detergent Chinese commercial?
Vaguely.
Basically, a Chinese woman puts a black guy into a wash machine, soap. Out comes a Chinese man.
Oh, that's right. Damn.
And I remember no fucking SJWs throwing a hissy fit for that one.
Although, how old was that commercial? It might have been before social justice became quite as powerful as it currently is.
I don't know, but I remember it was covered like a few years back, like by some people we know.
Okay, so yeah, it's just maybe because Chinese media doesn't really easily make it out of China. Maybe.
Either way, man, just
Yeah. Wow.
I'm gonna have to find that and send it to you, man. Like,
No, I know the commercial you're talking about now. It took me a second to remember.
and we're called racist. just because we don't agree with them ideology, their ideology.
Yeah, I know. It's just, like we say races are real, and on average, black people are stronger than other races, and we get called racist. But they put a black man into a washing machine and turn him Asian, and no peeps. Nothing.
Honestly, I feel bad for the actor who had to do that, like the black actor.
Yeah, that's just. I feel bad for the Asian actor too, because how do you live that down? Like you were involved in one of the most racist ads ever. Although to be fair, I don't think that ad was well liked even in China, so it might have just been somebody really, really out of touch.
Probably. I mean, we're talking about the Chinese. We're talking about China. So,
Yeah. Basically everyone in the Chinese government is like that, so yeah.
right, okay. So, the Attorney General also took the time to lay out the motivation behind Hollywood's quick desire to bow before the Communist Chinese. The story of the film industry's submission to CCP is a familiar one. In the past 2 decades, China has emerged as the world's largest box office. The CCP has long tightly controlled access to that lucrative market, both through quotas on American films imposed in violation of China's WTO obligations and a strict censorship regime. Also, fuck you,
Yeah.
dictatorous fucks.
Yes. Totally and completely agree. Fuck you, you communist bastards. And again, I'm saying this on the behalf of the Chinese people, because nobody deserves to live under communism. Nobody.
It worked so well for Russia and the Soviet Union.
And Venezuela and Cuba. And well, actually no, basically nowhere has communism successfully managed to work yet. And I get that it's not true communism according to the like tenets and ideology of communism. But the thing is, after so many regimes have tried it and failed, maybe we should reevaluate whether the guy who created the concept or discovered the concept had any clue what the fuck he was talking about at that point. Because if I have an idea and every instance of that idea fails, somebody's going to tell me, maybe you have the wrong idea. Well, we've tried several variations on communism over the last century or so, and they have all gone bust. The closest thing we've gotten to successfully is a Scandinavian style social democracy. And quite frankly, considering that they have the highest happiness ratio per capita, even several notches higher than the United States or Canada, maybe we should look at what the Scandinavian people are doing and try to adapt some of that for the rest of the world. Just saying. Because it seems to work really, really fucking well. Unlike communism, which goes bust every 5 minutes.
The Attorney General also took the time to lay out the motivation behind Hollywood's quick desire. Oh, I already read that. He added, increasingly, Hollywood also relies on Chinese money for financing. In 2018, films with Chinese investors accounted for 20% of U.S. box office ticket sales, compared to only 3.8% 5 years earlier. The fuck? That is a big fucking increase.
Yeah.
Mulan, live action one.
Hmm.
Didn't see that one. Didn't really care to.
Well, it's not out yet.
It says it comes out on March 12th. Oh, okay, never mind then.
It got delayed because COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps getting more delayed because more COVID.
Weird thing is, I saw some people talking about it on Twitter. Mainly how it sucked.
Well, I can't speak to that because I haven't seen the fucking thing. But that being said, it looked, as far as the rest of the live action Disney movies have gone, I think this might be the best one since the 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close. which is by far and away the best live action remake, by the way. The
Mhm.
101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil.
I think I think that's actually the first 101 Dalmatians I watched.
Yeah, I didn't see the animated one for years after that, but I don't think it was nostalgia that was blinding me. I think they just did a really, really good job adapting the animated one into a live action one. Although, granted, that tends to be what you get when you hire the guy who did Home Alone.
Holy fucking shit! You're not kidding.
No, I'm pretty sure he was a producer or director or something on that movie. That's that's one of the reasons why there was the part at the end where Cruella gets beat up and thrown into mud and shit and whatnot. Because the person who did Home Alone always likes to Easter egg something like that into his post Home Alone movies.
Cool. They really gotta do a revival of Home Alone.
Honestly, given how the later Home Alone movies worked, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't want to. I only if they bring back Macaulay Culkin, like an adult Kevin McAllister having to deal with the same goons again would be the most hilarious thing ever, I think.
There actually are like some people have made like fan trailers for that.
Yeah, somebody do that. But I want Joe Pesci and I want the guy who played Marv and I want Macaulay Culkin back. None of this. Let's just use a different kid and a different set of villains and call it the same movie. Yeah, no, fuck off.
Although I will say Home Alone 3 was pretty fun.
It tried. I think Home Alone 4 was the one with the technology one, right? Where the kid was like super high tech and the villains had super high tech stuff too.
Um,
Because I know there was one Home Alone movie where the kid was like obsessed with technology and the villains were like super um upscale technological bad guys. And they had like drones and stuff, from what I remember.
I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I never saw Home Alone 4. Anyway, back to this. It then detailed that China's aim, like other businesses, is to co-opt Hollywood. But in the long run, as with other American industries,
Or was Home Alone 4 the one with the circus? I'm
I
trying to
dude,
think.
I have no idea. I just remember like the traps.
Hmm?
I just remember the traps in Home Alone 3, which were hilarious as hell.
Hmm.
Like one guy got hit, opened the door and got punched by like a spring-loaded battering ram with a boxing glove on the.
They basically pulled the Looney Tunes bit. But anyway, back to the thing.
Funniest part is when he fell back, his shotgun went off.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My favorite was Home Alone 2 because it took what the first one did right and amped it up just enough and changed things up just enough that it was like perfect. Hello?
Sorry, stupid shit happened.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. The PRC may be less interested in cooperating with Hollywood than co-opting Hollywood, and eventually replacing it with its own homegrown productions.
I don't think so. I think they'll be more subtle about that. I think they'll just change Western culture enough that it aligns with Chinese culture and then they'll have basically the entire world's culture, and we'll end up in a world very similar to Firefly, where like China and Russia mixed together and took over everything.
Well,
Or,
China,
or, or
China,
was it? Or, yeah, or was it Korea and Europe?
no, it was China and Europe.
Ah,
Well, I assume America.
mm.
Yeah, Firefly was such a good show.
Yeah, and yet only had 13 episodes because fuck you. That's why.
Also, 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 aired out of order.
Yeah, because Fox do not respect anything they have. They did the same thing with Sleepy Hollow, although fortunately Sleepy Hollow had 5 seasons before they cucked it. Although it was supposed to have 7 because the premise of the show involved 7 years of tribulation. Don't think I didn't spot that was what you were thinking for.
Not to mention Almost Human, which is a sci-fi buddy cop series with Carl Urban in it. One season got fucked. It's like Blade Runner, and I can't think of a buddy cop film. Anyway, where were we? The nation's top prosecutor laid out how he believes the CCP would accomplish this feat. To accomplish this, the CCP has been following its usual, and Dalton is gone. We're going to give him a moment, folks. Dead air, dead air, dead air. Yeah, folks, this happens a lot.
Okay, phone died, sorry.
Hey, good. Where did you cut out at?
We were discussing Firefly.
Okay. Well, I was discussing Almost Human, which was another show Fox fucked over.
Yeah, that was another one that was awesome too.
It was a
And
good.
Sleepy Hollow. I don't know how much of my Sleepy Hollow rant you caught before it cut out.
I assumed you were pretty much done.
Yeah,
Like
that
7
show was
seasons.
supposed to have 7 seasons because there were supposed to be 7 years of tribulation involved, and they only made it to 5 because Fox are stupid.
See, knowing you now and like remembering Sleepy Hollow, I kind of figured you wouldn't like it.
How so?
Um, I don't know, like it's set in the modern day and stuff, and it's like kind of a standard procedural police drama deal, or like a mystery thriller.
Well, well, not quite. Um,
It's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm a little hazy.
it's not like they were saying that the characters of Sleepy Hollow were happening in the modern day. They just moved some of the characters from Sleepy Hollow, like Ichabod Crane and Katrina Van Tassel, from the 1700s to the current day, and most of the police procedural stuff was incidental to the case they were following, and eventually they kind of just ditched the police element and focused entirely on the cases. So it was fine. Um, Plus, it was really, really well written, and honestly, you can make even bad ideas sound good if you write them correctly. Also, the guy who played Ichabod Crane was really, really awesome in that show. He should have been he should have been one of the characters in Doctor Strange. I don't know who I would cast him as, but he should definitely be one of those characters in the sequel. Hey, moving on.
I just know how much you don't like Sherlock, so
Yeah, but I rewatched Sherlock recently, and if I can turn my love of Sherlock Holmes off and enjoy it as its own thing, it's fine. I just Elementary is the much better version of a modern Sherlock.
alright. Okay. Uh, the nation's top prosecutor laid out how he believes the CCP would accomplish this feat. To accomplish this, the CCP has been following its usual modus operandi by imposing a quota on American films. The CCP pressures Hollywood studios to form joint ventures with Chinese companies, who then gain access to U.S. technology and know-how. That sounds conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean that's not what China's doing, but I don't think that's the reason why they're doing it. I think they're doing it because they know that if they expose their people to enough American films, they might end up with some Chinese people who start thinking a little bit too much like Americans or valuing American values too much, or just in general finding that the American movies are better than the Chinese movies, and then wondering to themselves, why does our why does our country under communism make such shitty movies? It's almost as though communism makes for really, really bad artists or something. And then China, especially if they show movies like fucking Joker. Hell, they didn't even show Joker, and um there was already people in the Hong Kong protest who dressed up like Arthur Fleck's version of the Joker. So I can't imagine what a movie like Joker would have done to China. It's like a cultural.
Revolution.
Hmm?
Revolution that would be televised.
Yes. And the revolution should be televised, god damn it.
That is a song, right?
Yes. It's a song that was also referenced by Perfect Cell in DVD Abridged. R is for the revolution, which will be televised. F is
Right.
for how fucked you are. Now allow me to reply. Oh god damn it! I love Cell in that.
You sound like a Tim Burton character when you sing that.
Well, to be fair, there was already a little bit of that in Perfect Cell's voice actor to begin with.
Fair enough. All right. He added, as one Chinese film executive recently put it, everything we learned from Hollywood. Notably, in 2019, 8 of the top grossing films in China were produced in China. Okay. I I feel like that may be taken out of context a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm suspecting that the Chinese government goes through a lot of hoops to prop up their own material just so they can say, look, we made stuff that's better than the Americans, we promise.
However, uh, I mean, there are Chinese films that kind of have that feeling of American films.
Well, and that's the other thing. One of the reasons why China hates the SJWs is because they go to American films looking for American films. And when social justice warriors make it all about morality and ideology, the Chinese people go, well, this isn't American at all. And base Chinamen call it in one, apparently. Moving forward, though.
Mm-hmm. Um, Barr wasn't done with his criticisms of Hollywood quite yet. He set aim at the biggest fish in the pond, Disney, and gave a historical recap of the once iconic American company. I mean, it still is. It's just iconic for a different reason now.
Well, I mean, it it's not as though owning the top 5 franchises in the modern era is going to make them less iconic. It's just going to expand their brand a bit. Because I refuse to believe that Bob Iger didn't make didn't make Disney as much or more iconic than they were previously. He expanded everything they owned. And Disney owning all the things totally is a good thing. Please don't shoot me with the mouse shaped sniper rifle, please. I welcome our mousy overlords. Ha!
Okay. He explained in World War II, for example, the iconic American company, Disney, made dozens of public information films for the government, including training videos to educate American sailors on navigation tactics. World War II propaganda cartoon Donald Duck gets drafted.
Yeah.
And again,
To be fair, just about every company did that back then. There are plenty of Looney Tunes cartoons, for example, that involve World War II and things. The most famous of which is probably the Bugs Bunny versus the Gremlin episode. But there were enough Bugs Bunny cartoons back then that Bugs Bunny was actually named an honorary captain in the Air Force, I believe. Don't quote me on that. He was named the honorary some position of some wing of the army. I just couldn't remember which one. I think it was honorary captain of the Air Force. So apparently now it is Captain Bugs Bunny. And also my cat continues to say hi.
during the war, over 90% of Disney employees were devoted to the production of training and public information films. To boost the morale of American troops, Disney also designed insignia that appeared on planes, trucks, flight jackets, and other military equipment used by American and Allied forces, he continued. Barr would then invoke the founder of Disney himself, Walt Disney. I suspect Walt Disney would be disheartened to see how the company he founded deals with the foreign dictatorships of our day.
Yeah, he probably would, considering that one of the one of the battles that Disney got involved with when he was still alive was essentially a turf war between himself and a guy by the name of Herbert K. Sorrell, who was basically a communist organizer who was also a movie producer, and he wanted Disney to join his conglomeration of companies that were endorsing or in favor of communism.
Hey, don't.
And Disney promptly told them to kick rocks because he's Walt Disney.
He's Marine.
Okay, so I was yeah, like I said, I couldn't think of the the actual like rank, or the actual branch, but I knew he was involved. But yeah,
Master Sergeant of the U.S. Marines.
yes, Master Sergeant Bugs Bunny.
See, I wish they would have done something like that in the Lincoln show where they brought up his military career.
Honestly, I wish they would have played with that in the Lunatics Unleashed.
Hmm.
Like if Bugs Bunny was basically make Bugs Bunny Captain America in like a super soldier kind of way.
All right.
And then whenever somebody underestimates him, have him do the "he don't know me very well, do he?" thing, because of course.
He then cited how Disney's current behavior greatly contrasts to their previous one. He noted that back in 1997, Disney stood up to China before quickly capitulating to them. Barr explained when Disney produced Kundum, I might be saying that name wrong, the 1997 film about the PRC's oppression of the Dalai Lama. The CCP objected to the project and pressured Disney to abandon it. Ultimately, Disney decided that it couldn't let a foreign power dictate whether it would distribute a movie in the United States. They continued, but that moment of courage wouldn't last long. After CCP banned all Disney films in China, the company lobbied hard to regain access.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, apparently they were gonna make a movie about how China were a bunch of dicks to the Dalai Lama, and
I thought they
didn't.
did.
Yeah, apparently they must have, because they apparently released it. I need to watch that movie now, just to support based Disney.
All right, I had to step away for a sec. Mac.
Okay.
The CEO apologized for Kundum, calling it a stupid mistake. Disney then began courting the PRC to open a 5.5 billion theme park in Shanghai. As part of that deal, Disney agreed to give Chinese government officials a role in management. He detailed. Oh my god.
Okay, Disney. The stupid mistake was not making the movie calling out the stupid fuckers in China. It was capitulating to the stupid fuckers in China.
Mm.
What the actual fuck, Disney? Uncle Walt would be spinning in his grave, and he would be spitting on Herbert K. Sorrell's grave while he was at it.
Yeah, but I thought Walt Disney didn't like Jews.
Well, no one is perfect, and B, that was heavily exaggerated by the very same communist fuckers who basically they wanted to recruit Disney, but when Disney told them to go fuck themselves, they started taking every piece of dirty laundry Walt had and making it as public as possible and exaggerating it as much as possible.
Okay.
So yeah, fuck you is my response to that.
All right, well, I refute my previous statement then.
Yeah, I'm on Uncle Walt's side of this particular issue. Not on the Jews thing, but on the fuck you, you communist shit heels thing.
Same. Anyway, he then described the Disney employees at this park display communist symbols. Of the park's 11,000 full-time employees, 300 are active members of the Communist Party. They reportedly display hammer and sickle insignia at their desk and attend party lectures during business hours. He then
That's just the single stupidest and most evil thing I think I've ever heard all at once. Go ahead.
He then warned Disney may quickly learn its capitulation that China comes at a great cost. Like other American companies, Disney may eventually learn the hard way, the cost of compromising its principles. Soon after Disney opened its park in Shanghai, a Chinese-owned theme park popped up a couple hundred miles away, featuring characters that, according to news reports, looked especially like Snow White and other Disney trademarks.
Oh no. Though I do know that Russia had a version of Winnie the Pooh at one point. I've seen Russian Winnie the Pooh. It's adorable.
But I'm assuming he's super communist.
They don't really, fortunately, they don't really bring that up much. Or at least not that I noticed. Mostly it's just cute and really cheap looking because Russia didn't have the animation budget of Disney.
Okay. All right. The bar makes a fair point. If Walt Disney were alive, it's doubtful that he'd be pleased with how those in the leadership of his company are managing affairs with a hostile foreign power.
Yeah, like I said, he told Herbert K. Sorrell to kick rocks. I can't imagine his reaction to this would be any nicer.
According to the Walt Disney Museum blog, Disney was extremely patriotic. During World War II, he was quoted as saying, "Tomorrow will be better for as long as America keeps alive the ideals of freedom and a better life."
Again, I must agree with Uncle Walt on this one.
Mm-hmm. Disney also touted his service with the Red Cross Ambulance Corps during World War One, telling his daughter Diane, "The things I did during those 11 months I was overseas added up to a lifetime of experience. It was such a valuable experience that I feel that if we have to send our boys into the Army, we have to send them even younger than we do. I know being on my own at an early age has made me more self-reliant."
I unfortunately have to disagree with Uncle Walt on that one because, frankly, I think selective service should be entirely voluntary, and the draft can get fucked. That's my 2 cents on the matter. You may join the military if you like, but you should not, under any circumstances, be forced to join any military.
Um, what do you make of this part of Bill Barr's speech that calls out Disney Marvel Studios and Hollywood?
I don't really. Well, I guess he did call out the Doctor Strange thing, so that does count as calling out Marvel. I didn't disagree with him on much, but there were a few things where I'm like, and now you're going a little bit over the edge. Do do.
Right. Yeah, I'm not really saying. I mean, overall agree, also disagree with some points, but
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, no, it's completely fair and right.
Yeah, and fuck Chinese communists. And I hope for the sake of the Chinese people that something happens to your leaders and you get to actually elect other ones.
Mhm. So, on a more, well, actually, we get a couple more things that kind of grind us up.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a trailer from Comic Con at Home. New Mutants Comic Con teaser. This was so yeah. I don't really think we've covered much of New Mutants,
No.
Or at all really.
Which is probably good considering how often it gets moved.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like a spin-off of the X-Men, but also something else entirely. I don't know. It's gotten really fucked over. It's a shame because I remember watching the first trailer and really finding it interesting.
Yeah, New Mutants look like it could join the ranks of like Logan and Deadpool and itself to be the X-Men kind of at least trying to do something right, as opposed to still acting as though it's 2005 in 20 fucking 20.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it did get like I said, it did get fucked over a lot. Like constantly moved, delayed. I believe reshoots. I don't know the extent of the reshoots. I don't think it was like completely, like as bad as like.
It seemed to be about on par with any other big movie for reshoots, so
Mhm.
that's fine.
But from what I understand, it takes a very horror route, which I respect because I don't think a lot of superhero movies have really done that. They have had horror elements, but not gone truly horror like, which is a shame. Granted, I do think it depends on the certain property.
Yeah. Not everything needs to be grim dark, but some darkness here and there can be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Take Spawn, for example, and I'm waiting for something. Anything.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Doctor Strange 2 will kind of be in that same sort of trippy, dark, weird sort of vein.
Right.
A little bit like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like we're gonna say something.
I can't think of anything
I mean,
particularly.
it's been a while since we said banana, so
Yeah, so banana.
banana.
All of you have killed someone. If you weren't here, you'd be in prison. Or worse. You mutants are dangerous.
It's cool that it's still keeping that horror vibe because I was worried with the reshoots they really just become like a generic.
Yeah, I dumb it down.
Yeah.
It's honestly reminding me a lot of Glass, the way that the like psychiatrist lady is trying to convince them that their powers are bad. That was very much in the same vein as Ellie Staple trying to convince the trio in Glass their powers weren't a thing. And hopefully it will have similar results to that, because egg on the face of the psychiatrist.
So we have Magic. I believe she is. I'm not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not like the biggest fan in knowledge of the X-Men. Like I like the movies and I've read a few comics and I've seen a couple of the cartoons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I haven't really gone deep into the lore of it.
Me either. That being said, Magic is ironically a magic adjacent character, so I do know something about her.
Yeah, she's the little sister of Colossus, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know much about these characters, unfortunately.
Okay, so what little I know of Magic is that her power, quote unquote, is that she can move, or that she was able to move to other dimensions, and one of the other dimensions that she kind of got stuck in for a while was a hell dimension owned by, I forget which archdemon of the Marvel Universe it was. But as a result, she has a connection to sort of pseudo magic in the same way that Scarlet Witch does before she goes through the training with Strange.
We also have Arya Stark as Macy Williams. That was her name. I couldn't quite remember the name at first. Macy Williams as I can't remember this character's name, and I know this character.
Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane. Thank you, Don. Which one is a badass fucking name?
Yes. And I like that they're not shying away from the weird aspect of the New Mutants, because that's one of the reasons why I kind of like the New Mutants team better than the X-Men. Don't shoot me.
Again, man, I have nothing to say.
Well, no, but I'm saying it to the audience because I'm sure about 5 people, when hearing that, will immediately just draw pistols.
Hotspot, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's either that or Sunfire, but I believe Sunfire is like Japanese or Asian.
I believe so. So
yeah, this has to be Hotspot. And it looks good. It kind of reminds me of when we watched Project Power last week, like the guy on fire.
Yeah.
But a little more comic booky, I think. Like with the flaming eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Where Project Power looked more like he was just a guy on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks good. Like the effects look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, given they've had years upon years upon years to work on it, it would be a shame if they didn't.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. I do think this is honestly going to be a flop, even if it is good.
Which is a shame because it looks like the best X-Men related thing since Logan. So
yeah,
hopefully it will still make enough of the money to make it more successful than like Dark Phoenix or X-Men Apocalypse, because those were not good at all.
Like I always say, good ideas, poor execution.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Banana.
You know. This race takes her its fear. It makes her live through it. Ooh, scary.
Yeah, no, it really is, like, it's both combining elements of horror and action, which I respect, and it kind of makes sense because, superhero property.
Yeah, totally works.
Yeah.
Totally works. Especially given the first villain of the New Mutants in the comics was a guy by the name of Demon Bear.
Really?
Yes. The New Mutants were so edgy and weird, and it was awesome.
Weren't they created by Rob Liefeld?
You probably are right, but don't quote me.
Okay, well, I'll look it up just to make sure. Because Chris Claremont. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, no, Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod.
Well, chalk another one up for Chris Claremont, who seems to know what the fuck he is doing in regards to the X-Men. Surprising no one at this point, I'm sure, considering he is the X-Men writer, but still.
Yep. All right. It's funny. Did they ever bring any of the comic book writers on for like consulting when making these movies?
Not that I am aware of, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't.
Right.
Mhm. But I got really not much to say. It's just it's good so far what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Banana.
Banana.
What are you doing?
Gotta get better someday. Even there!
Let's play a game.
So they do have Demon Bear in here.
Yes. And may I applaud your balls, New Mutants. Because regular X-Men would not have the balls. But yeah. Good for New Mutants. I really hope this does well. I really hope it does.
I mean, I hope so too, but I'm being realistic here.
Yeah, between everyone being afraid to go to movie theaters because Corona, and the fact that it's been moved to
Also, I think
back
the
and
initial hype for it has really died down.
yeah. But still, in a world that makes sense, it will at least make more than Dark Phoenix did.
Yeah.
And
You're not-
hopefully more than X-Men Origins Wolverine as well, while we're being wishful about it.
Oh, we got 20 seconds left.
Mm-hmm. But
Banana. Jinx, by the way. All right. I believe there's a clip that shows the first 2 minutes of the film. If we want to check that out.
Yes, there is the first 2 minutes of the movie somewhere.
So you want me to type that up?
Maybe next week? Maybe?
Okay. All right. So yeah, that was New Mutants. Honestly, it looks good. I do think the trailer is a little weird. Like it has it set up more for action than anything.
Well, I think they're trying to sell it without being too risky, because they're worried that the risk will alienate people, even though I think that the riskiness of it is probably what's going to draw people in more than anything. And again, I applaud the balls to take. It seems like they're taking magic fairly seriously, because she's supposed to have like probability manipulation and teleportation powers that get her stuck in a hell dimension and then basically bond her with a demon lord of the Marvel Universe, from what little I know of her. So assuming they're doing that well, and they have the balls to include Demon Bear too, yeah, this is gonna be weird and awesome, and I love it.
Yeah. All right. Another thing, some that well, this was mainly for Dalton,
Mm-hmm.
and something that he and I are kind of big fans of is Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah.
and the third series of his Tales of Arcadia Netflix series, which is Troll Hunters and Three Below and Wizards, which is this, is so this is the first season. This is like the first trailer for the season 1 of Wizards,
Mm.
and yeah, we are going to watch it.
Sweetness.
Right.
Banana.
I don't know. I feel like we need to say something else.
Can't really think of anything.
Arcadia,
maybe?
I was thinking like magic or something, because wizards.
Yeah, but it doesn't really have quite the same pop as other things.
Yeah. I think Arcadia works.
Yeah. So
right.
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
What is taking so long? I want to be a wizard, like you, with a staff and everything. Staffs are for those with mastery over magic. Gotcha!
Okay.
What did the guy say? I didn't really catch that.
Which guy?
The older guy. The,
That was Merlin. He said that staffs are for wizards who have mastery over magic.
Aha. Interesting.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of back when I was very, very young and very, very first into magic, when I read the Wizardology books, and the staff came up in there. Which actually, having studied magic and occultism for 14 years since then, they don't do a bad job of like the mechanics of how staff work and stuff. Though I do think it's funny that that staves are for people that have full mastery over magic, because number one, making a staff or for women a broom is sort of considered to be a rite of passage in certain circles of magic, but ironically the staff itself is supposed to be considered like a jack of all trades. Wands are supposed to be specialty items that are only supposed to be used for specific tasks, and staves are sort of all purpose, which is what makes them kind of important.
So I think, I'm thinking this is Camelot right here, what you see on the screen right now.
I would imagine so. Yeah, that seems to be where we're heading.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, from Troll Hunters, it's been a while since I've seen Troll Hunters. So we have Merlin here, and he has the armor that looks very much like the Troll Hunter armor, and that I think that's obviously intentional, because the Troll Hunter was, like, the medallion for the Troll Hunter was crafted by Merlin.
Yeah.
So good. I want to say Easter egg, or like a.
I'm sure it'll probably have larger significance down the line. They just didn't want to show it in the trailer.
But I like how they depict, like, him using magic. It's green. It's a different color for magic being used.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's like the visual guy for me. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's just it's very different compared to everything else you see before. Like, it's usually just it's white or blue or red, pretty much those colors.
So there are actually associations within magic of the color spectrum. Blue is typically associated with, like, healing. Green is usually associated with, like, intelligence. Red, of course, is normally associated with passion. Black is normally associated with protection. And the other colors come in as well, but white is white, of course, is purity and perfection and so forth. So benevolence, kind of.
Excuse me. All right, Arcadia.
Arcadia.
You're welcome, Arcadia. The faith of existence is at stake. Bring me the guardians of Arcadia. The dark menace is coming. You are all now soldiers in the war started centuries ago.
What's happening?
Cool. I do have a kind of a critique, and this just may be me, but I feel like the art style is a little too simplistic. Okay, not the art style, but like the art direction, like how like the backgrounds and stuff look. It's a little too plain. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe that's just me. Like
I can see what you're saying, but it's not really bothering me, so I don't.
yeah, I mean, like it's not a big issue. It's just I thought it's I'd bring up like
Mhm.
you know. I gotta catch up on Troll Hunter.
Hmm.
It's been a while since I've seen it. So
Yeah,
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Come on, get this tasty! It would appear we've had an accident.
Which means
We're lost in time. What? Welcome.
Okay, not digging the time travel. I really wish this had just been a prequel series that was set in the distant past. I think I would have liked it better.
Well, I think it technically is both a sequel and a prequel.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure there are some magics that technically are time travel.
Well, yes, there are, but time travel is ludicrously difficult and usually not worth it.
I assume it's going with the fixed looped kind of deal,
Mm.
like how you mentioned before.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just, yeah, no, basically,
Yeah, the sort of predestination paradox thing.
yeah. Which actually involves, like, I like that idea. While I've also written a story that involves more of a what has been called a time boom,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, like if you use a time machine, the flux of energy from the time machine basically causes events from the standard timeline to kind of shift a bit,
Yeah.
like Flashpoint.
Aha.
Granted, it was specifically for one story that needed that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always generally think the fixed time loop makes sense.
Yeah, it's much more logically consistent than basically any other kind of time travel.
How different do you think Avengers Endgame would be if they had done the fixed time loop thing?
Honestly, think it would probably be a better movie, but I don't really know how it would have affected the plot.
I don't know. Maybe Iron Man was the one that caused the missile to land right where he was,
Yeah, like they all like secretly cause their own origin stories now. That would have been nice.
which I don't know how Captain America would.
Um, maybe he steals the vial that the German spy steals in at the climactic part of Captain America: The First Avenger, so they can't get the serum.
Hmm.
And all I'm thinking is either Iron Man accidentally drives Stephen Strange off the road, or maybe after all the dust people come back, Stephen Strange ends up running himself off the road. Although part of me has always felt that the Ancient One had a hand in that. That he or she contrived things so that he would wreck.
I mean, okay, let's be honest. Time travel always makes your brain hurt when you really put too much thought into it.
Yes. Time
Right.
travel. You can't keep it straight in your head, to quote the Elephant Doctor.
Oh, mind fuck. Anyway,
Yes.
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
To Camelot. What happened? What are we doing at a Ren fair?
How do we get home?
The time battle. We'll have to find a way back without screwing up history, or there won't be a future to go home to.
Oh, hi, Hook.
What?
The one of the voice actors is Hook from Once Upon a Time.
Oh yeah, I remember we covered that. I totally forgot.
Yeah, and I when he spoke, I was just like, oh, hi, Hook. That was very, very Hook.
Okay. So if we paused it here, I feel like I do like they have the stakes already set up.
Mm-hmm.
Though, granted, it does raise concerns like what happens if the whole paradox thing, if you're the one to change the future, in the future where you might have.
What happens to you in the event of a changed timeline, yeah?
Yeah, and yet if you don't exist in that timeline, then how
did the change occur that changed you and there? Yeah.
It's like that scene of Constantine in Legend of Tomorrow where he's going to kick his father
in the nards before he's conceived, and it ends up hurting him.
Yeah, it's again, time travel. Jesus Christ.
Behold the head fuck.
Yeah. I saw something. I think this is King Arthur.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, fancy ass crown, purely white armor, and fancy ass sword. Looks like Excalibur.
And of course, we know that that Merlin and Arthur are always associated with each other, so
yeah.
He had to show up sooner or later.
It's just, I don't know, he looks so weird. Like, really bulky. You know?
Well, but I mean, he was considered as much of a knight as any of his knights were, so...
No, I mean, like, I don't know, like, the character design just looks off to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, it's too cartoonish.
Yeah, it might just be the art style.
Yeah. Again, that's just like a little nitpick for me. It's, you know.
And it might be a completely different king and totally not Arthur. And Arthur, we might see Arthur later, and he might look completely different.
See, how I've always pictured Arthur is, well, golden armor for one thing.
Mm.
And honestly, kind of young.
Yeah.
You know, the boy who would be king.
Yeah. I agree with you. I picture him in a very similar way.
Yeah. All right. So we have the Gum-Gums.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you guys didn't know, is like it's bad trolls, but in like the language of the trolls, they're called Gum-Gums.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Arcadia?
Arcadia.
War is coming. We will bravely and heroically fight until this dreadful conflict blows over. We may have come to the end of days.
The Arcane Order? They're here?
The battle begins.
Well, fuck.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And you had a problem with the time travel.
Well, to be fair, I would always have a problem with the time travel.
Fair enough. But at least it ain't science.
Yes, it is non-scientific time travel, and I am in favor of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I obviously think we're going to do a review of this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, probably we might just do a review of the Tales of Arcadia, you know, Troll Hunters, Three Below, and Wizards.
Yeah, the lot.
Yeah. Because technically it's a trilogy, so
And we haven't talked about the other two. So, well, actually, I did talk about Troll Hunter once on a live stream with a Twitch streamer who alternately goes by iBob or John something. I can't remember his last name. But we used to play D&D together, and he wanted to do a live stream about Troll Hunter, and naturally I said yes because I like magic sword being over a thing.
mhm.
Anyway, moving along.
Yeah.
Speaking
What,
of reviewing things.
I think there's a release date, or like, well, actually, there's another scene.
Oh, okay.
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Who dares to disturb my slumber? Is that all you got, punk?
Wall of Faces. That anything from mythology?
Not that I am aware of.
I mean, they kind of look like the Easter Island big heads.
Yeah.
So, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for Wizards.
Yeah.
And I gotta catch up because I think I've only watched like the first 2 seasons, and like there's a 3rd season, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta watch Three Below.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looks good. And now we got a last thing of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Miller's and Netflix's Cursed.
Really, Frank Miller.
I thought we talked about that.
I don't remember us mentioning that. I might have just misplaced the information, though.
Yeah, he wrote a book with someone else, and now it's being adapted into a series.
Okay. Okay.
Alright, and I have a picture here of a poster.
Mm. So yes, on with the review.
Alright, you want to start or should I start? Because I'm technically the one who finished it.
You can go ahead. I only got about 4 or 5 episodes in.
Well, okay, fair enough. But my thing is, I finished it Wednesday. Like I binged the whole season, the rest of the season on Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
and well, I barely remember it because it's not really that memorable.
Yeah, it really isn't.
It to be fair, like I like how it is kind of playing with the mythology of Arthurian legend. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not like spins on Arthur haven't been done and done and done and done and done and done since they were originally written down in the fucking 1100s.
But the major problem is, I don't think it was done well. Like an adaptation of Arthurian legend can be done well. It's just I don't think Cursed was done well.
Yeah, no.
And it's also a prequel of sorts.
Yeah, it's or an alternate timeline or some such thing.
Yeah, it's and like we had like kind of a brief discussion about it prior to the stream.
Mm-hmm. When we reviewed the trailer as well, we discussed what we thought it was going to be.
It's fine. It's meh. Like there's nothing. It's kind of a garden variety fantasy.
Yeah,
series.
as I mentioned, it seemed like Netflix was trying very, very hard to replicate the success they had with Witcher. And they succeeded in making it like Witcher. The problem is that Witcher was kind of bland to begin with, and this is a copy of a copy.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I like most of the actors. They did the best they could.
They had, yeah.
Yeah, and it just like there are good ideas in it, like the Weeping Monk, which is secret. And spoiler alert: if you want to watch this, I don't know why you want to watch it, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
is Lancelot, and he's also a Fae.
Okay. And on that note, allow me to engage in the rant. Why, in the name of everything that is holy to every pantheon of deities, were these people called Fae? Why? Let me explain to you the easiest conceivable way you could have fixed this. Instead of referring to the humanoid magic characters as Fae, just have them be druids. And then instead of calling the hidden, you could call the hidden Fae, because the hidden, as defined in that show, act way more like fairies than the Fae in the show do. And the Fae are just too goddamn human in this show. However, if you make them druids, that would make them someone who was connected to the Fae. Therefore, there's still all that subtext going on, without completely botching how Fae are supposed to work. Especially given that there's this whole dichotomy of being blessed by the dark gods and being blessed by the hidden. Which, if you made the entities that these people were worshipping the Fae, then you have a perfect example of the Seelie or Holy or Summer Fae being the positive ones, and the Unseelie or Unholy or Winter Fae being the dark gods, quote unquote. Especially given that said Unseelie Fae were accountable in classical Celtic mythology to the Morgan, who is a goddess of darkness. This could have solved 90% of the clunky bullshit Deus Ex Machina writing of this show. But for some reason, we're supposed to regard these people who are human, except for the fact that they have a natural proclivity to nature, as Fae, and arbitrarily call their spiritual entities the hidden, which is really stupid. You should have just made the hidden Fae and the dark gods Fae, and then made the humanoids that worshipped them druids, and this would have solved like 90% of the issue.
Yeah. I did like the idea of Excalibur being cursed.
Yeah.
That's a good concept. And again, I like the idea. It's the same thing I'm always going to say with these kind of things. Good ideas, poor execution.
Yeah.
Well, not poor, but mediocre.
Bland.
Yeah, mediocre execution. That's the thing. I just I really got nothing. It's just
it's every fantasy cliche you could ever imagine in a show like this.
Which, and again, I like how they were changing up things. Like, you were seeing characters before they became like the legends in the myths, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, you know?
Mm.
It's just different interpretations. Again, like, I'm not...
Although minor gripe in comparison to the quote unquote Fae should have just been druids and the hidden should have been Fae rant. Can we stop showing Merlin as a drunk who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing? Can we just knock that trope off? I'm already sick of it.
I remember reading a Mary Sue article that was reviewing The Cursed, and this was before we reviewed it. Like, This was a week before when I didn't know it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And like a bit of it said that the Merlin in Cursed was like a mixture of was kind of just a Jack Sparrow copy.
I don't. He wasn't charming enough to be Jack Sparrow. Okay, there is some precedent for a wilder version of Merlin, because in the original lore, as in way before even English was like modern English was a thing, the name for Merlin was Merlin, which essentially meant mad prophet or wild man of the woods. The full thing I believe is Merlin Wilt, which is man of the wilds. So it does make some kind of sense to have Merlin have a more animalistic side to him. But when did we agree that he was going to be portrayed as ever like a drunk putz? Because it didn't work in Transformers The Last Knight, it didn't work here, and young Merlin, despite the popularity of that show where Merlin is 12-year-old, didn't work either. So can we just knock this off now? Can Merlin once again be the wise, weird motherfucker that he's always supposed to be?
I thought it kind of came off as that, like in the later episodes.
Kind of, but it's a
I mean, again,
stretch.
you've only watched the first half, so.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe.
Um,
Maybe I will rescind that complaint when I get around to watching the other episodes. But I doubt it. Yeah, my general impulse is just stop making Merlin a putz and a waste of space. It's really annoying.
There was something that bothered me with kind of a writing choice, like a story choice, is how the fuck, like in a group of magical creatures, how the fuck is Nimue called a witch and hated by her people?
Okay, as far as I understood this, and I might have misinterpreted this or whatever the fuck, but because she was naturally chosen by their tribe's dark gods, that made her considered tainted. Because the reason why she's as strong as she is because she's chosen by the dark gods first. And that's also why her powers manifest themselves easier when she's pissed off. Which, side note, Nimue, darling, did you just not get angry enough while your people were being burnt alive? Because she was pretty helpless in the scene where she was, like, trying to stop them from burning everyone alive and shit. And I'm just thinking, well, you almost strangled somebody with tree roots because they pissed you off earlier. So and you had no problem controlling it when you were doing the dice thing in the tavern. So why no attempts at magically restraining the people burning your families alive? Hello? And I know a show's gotta happen here, so there need to be some sacrifices, but you could have at least, like, you could have shown them being immune to it, you could have shown them having some kind of protective amulet, you could have given the enemies some kind of immunity to it in general, like, something could have happened here where she could have tried to save her family and not succeeded. Or, and this would have been the way I would have liked it to go, she tries to save her family, but because what she uses amplifies nature, and fires are considered a part of nature, she tries to save her family, and it makes the fires that are being used to burn her family alive go higher and more intense. And then she gets horrified by the fact that she's actually hurting her family unintentionally. That would have been interesting drama. But as it sits, she becomes absolutely helpless in the worst possible moment, even though she almost strangled the guy to death with tree roots earlier. Like, why is this the moment you're deciding not to use anything?
It could be overtaken by fear instead of like rage, and her mind's just not really there. But again, that's me making an excuse for poor writing. Obviously, I'm just trying to think of that logically.
Yeah. And especially given that after she had been chosen by the quote-unquote hidden, which in a sane version of this show would have just been the Summer Fae, especially given that they manifested themselves as golden sparks and shit. you would think that now that she has the blessing of both the dark gods and the light ones, she would be even more powerful. But what the fuck do I know?
Yeah. Also, I mean, should we bring up like SJW stuff? Because I don't really think there really was.
There was a little bit of it where like people would go, "Oh, she's a woman, she can't do nothing," but usually it was the villain saying that, so that you
Yeah,
might chalk
but-
that up to them playing the traditionalist card, but
Yeah,
you know,
but
whatever.
yeah, but it's also set in like the 5th century, so
Which, yeah, to be fair, one small thing, I don't know why Arthur needed to be black. Personally, I had candidate as he was a dark-skinned Celt, because for those that don't know, the British Isles originally, for as quote-unquote white as they are now, a lot of the Celts had a dark skin tone. So, yeah, I'm going with Arthur just was of dark-skinned Celtic ancestry and moving on, because I can't be bothered about that any further.
yeah, honestly, I didn't see much. And what would technically be construed, what I think would be construed as SJW, just made
Mhm.
sense for the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like the persecution of quote unquote Fae,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's because, you know, again, 5th century, they were consumed by the fear of God and all that.
Yeah, which works for medieval Europe, especially in a time when the old school Druids would have clashed with the newly converted Roman Empire.
Mhm.
So yeah, it works fine.
And
I just really hope this doesn't turn into one of those shows of like, this is why magic is no longer a thing, herder, because we kill other people with it. Like, that's not how magic
Like
works.
I
You
said-
wrong.
like we said, it's a prequel series.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I think that this is like a year or so before the age of King Arthur.
Well, probably a few years, to be honest, but never mind. I like that Merlin was working for Uther, because in the original lore, that was who he served before Arthur, and that's why he has such a strong stake in what happens to Arthur, because he promised Uther he would look after him and so forth. So that worked fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, like, and Nimue is supposed to be like the Lady of the Lake, right?
In some versions of the story, yes, she's later the Lady of the Lake.
Okay. Spoilers: she gets shot by arrows at the end of the season and falls into a river where she's bleeding out and dying.
So presumably the quote-unquote hidden will save her, and then she will become more water fae-like, I hope.
I got no idea, man.
I hope that's how it happens. Because I would assume, considering that the river is a natural phenomena, the hidden would be in it, and therefore trying to kill her in that way probably would have just made her more powerful. Kind of like Percy Jackson in the movies, at least. That they didn't quite explain it the same way in the books as they did in the movie, but you know, kind of like a being around nature makes me stronger sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's just like I really don't know how to really talk, like mention it, like give a proper review, because again, like nothing really engaged me, nor did it really infuriate me to talk.
It didn't really stick out much at all, because it's so bargain basement fantasy show.
I mean, I'm pretty sure right now you and I could brainstorm, pun intended,
Yes,
a better version of Cursed.
probably.
Like,
I've already explained how you do the whole Fae and Druid thing better. You make the people worshiping the entities Druids, and then you make the quote unquote hidden and dark gods the uh summer and winter Fae respectively.
right. Maybe take a little inspiration from Game of Thrones. Not too much, but let's be honest, Game of Thrones is good.
Yeah. Also, a underappreciated fantasy show that was much better than this, and yet still got the axe after season 2. It's a show called Legend of the Seeker. And yes, I know Terry Goodkind is an asshat, and his books are, I would say, at least worth reading, but still kind of iffy. But the show based on his books is really good. And unfortunately, it got canceled after season 2 because, once again, Fox are a bunch of cunts when it comes to their own shows.
Right, I did mention when we reviewed the trailer of Curse that I thought of an idea for interpreting the Arthurian legends.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it was a little more sci-fi, but
yeah,
I mean science fantasy than anything.
Yeah,
but it's a mess series. I mean, there was no moment that stuck out. The characters were fine. It's just there's no legitimate.
If you like every other fantasy show, or especially like every other high fantasy show on any network ever, you'll probably like this. If you don't like those kind of shows, this isn't going to convert you. If you find the character being a bit Mary Sue-ish to be annoying, then this might bother you a little bit here and there, but it won't be a big deal. And if, like me, you actually care about the intricacies of the lore, there are moments, like I said, that are going to make you beat your head on a wall. But yeah.
Yeah, again, like it's just meh. It's meh.
Yeah, unless like me, you're a deep cut Arthurian legend and other English legend fanatic, then there will be enough to vaguely piss you off here and there whenever they refer to a very clearly human person as a fae and refer to their god as something else.
Mm-hmm. Devils.
Well, no, that didn't bother me because that's consistent with what the church actually did whenever they were faced with a god they didn't like. A lot of times they would just reclassify it as a demon and move on.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why the devil in a lot of depictions has horns, because that was essentially taken from Pan and Carnunos, which are two different gods of the forest. Because people really liked their forest gods and their hunting gods, and the church was like, nope, that's our devil, even though there's nowhere in the actual folklore of Jewish, Christian, or Muslim lore does it say anything about the devil having horns or looking like a satyr. The closest thing is you could make the argument that he's still stuck in the form of a snake because God allowed him to take the form of a snake to influence Eve in the Garden of Eden, but that's about it.
Yeah. See, the weird thing is the show could have been bad and I'd be fine with that. But the fact that it's meh makes it worse than it would have been if it was bad.
Yeah, because it's like teetering on the edge of being so cheesy that it's bad, but it just sort of it's cheesy because it's incompetent. It's not cheesy because it's trying to be fun. Because if it had gone full cheese too, like if it had gone full like Xena Warrior Princess or Hercules the Legendary Journeys and just embraced its cheesy factor, I could have learned to love that too. But like as it sits, it sort of if this hadn't been released on Netflix, it probably would have been released on the Sci-Fi Channel, which would have been sad because recently the Sci-Fi Channel has been kind of kicking ass between The Magicians, The Expanse, and Deadly Class. I'm actually beginning to slowly respect the Sci-Fi Channel more than I respect Netflix now.
You do realize that they canceled The Expanse and it had to be picked up by Amazon. And Deadly Class got canceled, I think, after like the first couple of episodes.
Yes, and unfortunately, the writers of The Magicians ended it after season 5, which I think was a little bit of a mistake. But I'd rather it end there than transition into bad writing territory. So fine.
Yeah.
But that said, Sci-Fi has recently been kicking ass. Whether they can maintain that success is another matter, but they've at least been trying a lot more than Netflix has.
I think they have an adaptation of Vagrant Queen, which is a comic by Mags Visaggio.
Oh dear.
We're not reviewing that, not at all. No.
Oh no. Oh no.
We are not that much. We are not that stupid.
Oh
We're stupid
no.
enough to watch. We're stupid enough to watch Cursed, but we're not stupid enough to watch that.
Unless it's like our most popular requested thing ever. Like if we get 1,000 comments in the Discord saying you should talk about that, then we might reconsider. But until that,
Fuck
no.
Yeah.
I'm really like between Cursed and The Witcher, I'm really starting to get concerned for the Sandman. But I'm hoping they put fuck tons more effort into Sandman than they would in Cursed or The Witcher. I hope.
Ironically enough, like my favorite thing was it's colorful, which
Yeah,
is
they did at least try to have some color in there from time to time, which was nice.
and when it's desaturated, it makes sense for like places of man, like castles and stuff.
Yeah, like where the life isn't, kind of like what they did with The Magicians, how the mundane world is like severely less colorful than any places where magic is going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a Wizard of Oz thing where like once you get to Oz or the Oz adjacent areas, it's colorful, but until then you're in black and white and Kansas.
And like when they bring in color to like the castles or places of man, it's usually because there is something fantastical happening.
Yeah, which is nice.
And also like accenting of certain things like banners or food.
Yeah, so at least somebody on the staff of Curse tried, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so comic recommendations. So I recently finished Black Hammer, like the first volume of it. It's pretty good. It's written by Jeff Lemire. We recently talked about him with like him being a supporter of BLM. Granted, I am willing to overlook that as a way of
if he can do the work, then who cares?
Not BLM. Antifa. That's
yeah. Very, very different organization. They might ally themselves occasionally, but very different organization.
Yet they do the same things.
Yeah, but that's mostly because Antifa takes the lead and BLM.
Whatever. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. Yeah, I'm willing to overlook. I'm willing to look past the artist and only for the art.
Yeah,
it's very good. It pays homages to a lot of things in comics, while also being a true, genuine story of, well, a family. Which, if anyone knows me, that's like a favorite theme of mine in my stories. Plus, they have a sassy ass robot called Talkie Walkie.
Ha! Funny.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I can recommend right now.
And because we spent the last story talking about something medieval with a cursed sword in it, I will once again recommend Elric of Beldebenet. And for anyone who knows about Elric of Beldebenet, you know exactly where I was going with that. For those that don't know about Elric of Beldebenet has a cursed sword named Stormbringer, who likes to feed itself on the blood of Elric's own friends, and also Elric himself. So occasionally his sword will just threaten to stab him. Because
So I'm thinking that kind of inspired both The Witcher and maybe some of the grim dark fantasies after him.
Oh yeah. In regards to Elric and The Witcher, see, there's a bit of a gray area there because the guy who created the novels for The Witcher used to be a translator for American and British stories that would get translated into Russian. And one of the stories that he was responsible for translating at one point was the original novels for Elric of Beldebenet. So there's a lot of case for The Witcher kind of being a Elric of Beldebenet ripoff, especially given that one of Elric's nicknames in the comics, and the one he goes by most often to people who don't know him, is the White Wolf. So yeah, I'll send you a couple of videos actually about the plagiarism regarding Elric of Beldebenet, because oh boy. And for those that like The Witcher, I've read both The Witcher and Elric kicks The Witcher's ass.
I think the video games work best for The Witcher.
Yeah. Plus, for Elric, the nickname the White Wolf actually makes sense because the thing with Geralt of Rivia is he's way more of a brawler than Elric. But when I hear brawler, I don't think wolf. Wolf to me is almost like wolf means scavenger. So like someone who's skinny and who is sort of creepy and sickly and stuff. And that's more Elric than it is Geralt, who's definitely more of a brawler than Elric typically is.
Also, this is a picture, I believe, from one of the comics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. If especially if you like dark fantasy, the guy who wrote Elric of Melniboné originally sort of started referring to it as the anti-Conan because his editor wanted him to write something like Conan, so he basically wrote the opposite of Conan and sent it in.
Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a series being developed, right?
Yes. Now, ironically, that The Witcher has been so successful, they're going to turn out. The thing that ripped off Elric is so popular that they're now going to turn Elric into a ripoff of the thing that ripped it off.
I feel like,
funny old world sometimes.
Yeah. Ironically enough, it might. Well, depending on who's working on it, it might even be better than The Witcher. And I realize that's not saying much.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I hope that it's so good that people start thinking of Elric more than they do The Witcher. I really do, because now that I know as much as I do about the plagiarism aspect of The Witcher, I kind of hate The Witcher's guts. Like, I still like it as a franchise, but Elric is so much better. And the fact that
Alright, question.
The Witcher ripped it off really pisses me off.
Question. Who would you cast as Elric of Melniboné?
The only person I can think of is Anthony Hopkins, because Elric is not exactly a moral person. his country or his race, the Melnibonéans, are basically a race of evil sorcerers, and he is the exiled prince of a kingdom of evil sorcerers who maintain their life by basically feeding on the innocence of other people.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Elric is seriously metal as fuck when you get into it. Like I mentioned, his sword that helps keep him alive really likes digging into him or his friends randomly just to spite him.
A question. When was Melbourne created?
The country in universe or
No,
in
Elric
the
of Melbourne
property?
created. When was Elric of Melbourne created?
Okay. I want to say like late 50s, early 60s, I believe, because I know the comics were done by Roy Thomas in the 70s, or the oldest comics were done by Roy Thomas in the 70s. So I think we're talking 50s, 60s, right around the time that Conan came out, because Conan was really popular. So Michael Moorcock's editor told him to write something like Conan, and so he created the anti-Conan, which was Elric.
1961.
Okay.
I thought the 80s because you said metal as fuck, and I remember Rageaholic doing a video on it. So
Yeah. Incidentally, Elric inspired a lot of metal songs.
see, that's
Yeah.
actually that is genuinely surprising.
Yeah, in the same way that Doctor Strange helped inspire a lot of progressive rock from the 60s and 70s and like Pink Floyd and stuff, Elric was very inspirational to a lot of metalheads. I'll have to send you some of the songs that are based on Elric because they're awesome actually.
There's actually a metal song based on the Wheel of Time, which I am also still reading.
Mm-hmm. How was that?
It's pretty good, actually. I will have to send that to you at some time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, folks, so Black Hammer and Elric of Melbourne.
Yeah.
Those are your recommendations this week. And with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Shalom. Fuck off. And beware the demon blade.